Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories again are from PettyRevenge. Story 1 is by Dr. Oogie Boogie 42. My roommate kept stealing my clothes, so I tie-dyed his. I definitely remember tie-dyeing. I used to love tie-dyed clothes when I was young. I didn't go to college until I was 21. For some reason, the fact that I was of legal drinking age made partying a lot less fun. That wasn't the case for my 18-year-old roommate, Paul. We didn't have much in common, different courses, friends, group, etc. We didn't talk much, but he was a huge party animal. He'd come to our dorm drunk at 2 a.m. on weekdays and then go to his classes very hungover. He also had a girl over at least once a week, and they were never quiet. But the most notable thing about Paul is that he's a massive jerk. Not only that, but his family was loaded. So he was the kind of jerk who bragged about how much of a jerk his money allowed him to be. Paul was pre-law, and some of his teachers graded students based on how formal their attire was in class. Paul had 6 Oxford shirts from expensive stores, think Hugo Boss and Ralph Lauren, all in white. His wardrobe consisted only of those shirts, 4 dress pants, and a single t-shirt. One day, as I was preparing to do laundry, I noticed some clothes I hadn't worn or put in the basket recently. They were clearly worn, reeking of sweat, alcohol, and a bodily fluid I won't name. Some were also stained. It was gross. I confronted Paul about it, and sure enough, he'd been wearing my clothes to party, drink, and get lucky. His excuse was that his clothes were too expensive to wear at parties, unlike all my t-shirts, flannels, and jeans. I yelled at him that he couldn't take my clothes without permission. He said, "Dude, it's just clothes. It's not like you can't wear them anymore." The fight was going nowhere, so I just told him to never do it again. And he agreed. The week before spring break, Paul did it again. This time, he ripped one of my jeans. Not a small split anyone could fix, but a long, horizontal tear across the thigh. I could never wear those pants again. I thought about confronting Paul, then I had a better idea. I was alone when I found out, so he didn't know that I knew. For the rest of the week, I didn't bring it up. Then Paul left for spring break. He was wearing his t-shirt and didn't pack anything else since he was going home. I waited an hour, shoved all 6 of his Oxford shirts into my backpack, and left to spend the week with my family. Once I got to my mom's place, I started brainstorming what I'd do with the shirts. Tearing them wasn't enough. Those can be fixed. Whatever I did, it had to be permanent. Then my sister gave me a suggestion. I called a couple friends over and we got to work. We tie-dyed every single white shirt. We chose the most vibrant colors we could find. There was no way Paul would be able to wash them off. After spring break, I made sure to get to the dorm before Paul. I put all the shirts back in the closet and left to see a friend. When I got back a few hours later, Paul was on the phone with his parents. He'd put them on speakerphone and was screaming about how someone had colored his shirts and he couldn't wear them to class. At one point, he said he wanted to sue whoever did it. At that, his father shut him up and told him to stop complaining. He said it was probably just a prank and he wasn't going to sue anyone. After Paul hung up, I asked, "What's the matter, dude?" He looked at me. I could tell he thought I'd done it, but he didn't say. For about a week, Paul went to his classes wearing his only t-shirt. He couldn't convince his parents to buy him new shirts, so he had to start wearing the tie-dyed ones to class until he could save enough money to get more shirts. His grades dropped, but he still passed. Paul never stole my clothes again. Not my proudest moment, but I don't regret it. This kind of revenge, though epic, is dangerous because he could have actually gotten a lot of trouble for wrecking those clothes. But to be fair, he wrecked OP's clothes. He tore his jeans. He treated them like trash. And he never got permission to do any of this, so I would say it's deserved. I've never heard of someone being in a class that grades you based on how you dress. I can understand being a law class, maybe. They're more sticklers than other people. You have to dress the part and look professional at all times. I would think he'd be able to go to the teacher, though, and explain what happened and say, "I'm just going to have to wear these other clothes until I get some replacements." Our next story is by Condiments for You. cost ignorant landlord over $50,000. This story is from a while back when I was in college, which was situated in a rather large city, so rent was not very cheap and landlords thought they could cut corners. Unlike many of the buildings in the area, the room I rented was within a wooden house. When I toured the house, nothing stood out as unusual. The room was small but cozy. There were rather large common rooms, and the roommates seemed nice, one of whom was the landlord's daughter. Another plus was that they were okay with me bringing my cat and not putting down an obnoxious deposit. Cut to 2 weeks later. I moved into the room and everything seems fine except my allergies begin to act up. I figured this was just due to allergy season being in full swing despite not usually having allergies act up. 1 month in and my allergies are worse, and I start to notice small things around the house that seem to just be MacGyvered. For example, sink piping is duct taped and the bathtub has a crack, which seem to be glued together. At 1.5 months, allergies are again worse, and my cat begins acting really weird. They start running into things, acting confused, and having what looks like muscle twitching. I took her to the vet and was told that they believe she's ingested a large amount of mold. Dr. Google confirmed this as a possibility given her symptoms and fully explains how I've been feeling. I end up asking my friend to watch my cat for a couple days while I look for the source of the mold in the house. Remembering the weird handy jobs performed in the bathroom, I removed the little piece of wood that covered the area between the bathroom and the ground. It was elevated on some plastic feet, only to find it covered in fuzzy black growth. I immediately replaced the wood, which had growth on the backside of it too, and checked under the sink. It looked like there was old water damage on the bottom of the cabinet, but no mold. That is, until I shone a light in the small hole cut out of the back of the cabinet. Again, the entire area that I could see in that hole was covered in black fuzz. I don't know if it was psychological, but I ended up getting watery eyes and sneezing a bunch while on the hunt for mold. I immediately showed my roommate, who then called her dad about the mold. The dad essentially said it's nothing serious and he'll get to it when he has time. Well, 1 week later and he's done nothing about it. Wanting to bring my cat back, I asked him for an update and he says that he consulted with a professional who said it didn't sound like mold and that I should just keep it covered. I was pissed. But this being my first rental, I had no idea how to handle it, and for as nice as the landlord's kid was, she didn't really try to help persuade him. After some research, I found that in my area, mold is a hazard that landlords are required to take care of. While this wasn't stated in my contract, it was a contractual obligation he had. I called the landlord with this information and told him that I'll be withholding my rent until he sends someone to look at the issue. He flat out laughed and said I can't do that, and that he wouldn't allow me to break my lease early. I was pissed and too nervous to bring my cat back into the house. After reviewing some more local codes, I decided that instead of withholding rent, I would report the issue to the municipality in hopes of them taking action. Within 72 hours, they sent an inspector out not only to check the areas I mentioned finding mold in, but also doing a full inspection of the home. They spent at least 2 hours walking around the interior and exterior, looking under every appliance and into any accessible space. After the review was done, they told me the mold damage was far more extensive than I thought. Essentially, the entire house had become infested due to moist conditions and very poor ventilation. He said that this would require extensive work, and I would not be able to stay in my room during this time, but that's not all. The inspector also found over a dozen code and permit violations, each of which would have to be remedied or else a huge fine would be levied. The inspector sent a letter detailing his findings to the landlord, and I got an angry call with him screaming about how I shouldn't have gotten them involved, and how he was actually planning on coming out that weekend. I was too timid to boast about this win, but I did state that, per the inspector's findings, I will be moving out, as I am legally allowed to break lease if conditions are unlivable. He said I'm not allowed to, and I told him to take me to court in that case. I moved all of my stuff out that day with some help from friends and crashed with a friend watching my cat during this ordeal. I was able to get a room in a much nicer house rather quickly and kept in contact with one of the other roommates from the previous home. Apparently, the landlord tried to rent out my room again and didn't take the inspector's letter too seriously. Even the part that stated that they have, I believe it was, 1 month to take care of all the code and permit violations before they would be fined daily per violation, some amounting to over $1,000 per day. Things got real for him after about 5 weeks when he got multiple letters from the municipality detailing all of his fines and how the rates will go up if he continues to ignore them. Last I heard, he scrambled to respond to correct all of the violations, but not before his fines amounted to $50,000, and he was forced to have all tenants move out. I noticed the house was for sale a few months later. A lot of people at that point, $50,000 in the hole, you're going to try to cut your losses and sell it to somebody else. Maybe somebody can buy it for $50,000 and bulldoze the house and build a new one. Black mold does not go away. Black mold is really dangerous. People think, oh, there's some mold on that surface. We're perfectly fine. And they forget that anything that's a fungus sends these little itty-bitty tiny microscopic spores through the air. That's why this person was having allergic reactions constantly, and that's why their cat started to have almost seizures. Our next post is by Da Dude Man. Angry lady yelled at special needs person at the gym, so we did a bit of trolling. This guy named Michael has Down syndrome, and he's at the gym with his father 4 days a week around the same time. He's very nice and positive. He yells encouragement and compliments to the people working out. When he arrives at the gym, if he sees me, he yells very loudly, something like, "Hey, how are you? Glad I can see you." And if he likes my shirt, he tells me he likes it and the things he likes about it. Michael is a genuinely good person, and I love seeing him when I work out. When he's working out, he makes loud ooh sounds that sound like a cow going moo, but without the M part. It is very loud, especially when he's getting in the zone in his workout. If you've never seen him, you'll look up, see him lifting like a beast, and being the mature adult you are, can tell he has Down syndrome. Mind your own effing business and go back to your workout. Apparently, that was too hard for someone this evening. A lady with her training group, about 5 people total, were working out next to Michael. How the gym is laid out, there's aerobic/stretching area next to the dumbbells. Still plenty of room for everybody. Michael is doing his thing, having a great workout, but is getting very loud. His father is nearby working out on the machines near the dumbbell area. One of the ladies gets annoyed and walks up to him and yells at him to keep it down. I know the father. We have similar jobs and talk sometimes about work. We both made eye contact and our eyes widen. We are both thinking, WTF is wrong with her? Michael is not hurting anyone. Almost everyone has on headphones anyway. Michael said, "Okay," very loudly. That's just him, but it felt like a hilariously smart aleck response. Ha ha. Everyone gets back to their workouts. Michael obviously is just as loud as ever making those noises. Lady gets pissed, walks up to him and literally yells at him to keep it down. Father is understandably angry, walks up to her, tries to explain to her that he's special needs and he doesn't mean to be loud. They argue for a bit. I could hear everything they said, but the conversation ended when the father yelled extremely loudly, and this is surprising that the dad said this. He's R-worded. "What the F do you want from us?" Everyone stops working out and looks at her. Her face turns bright red and she's sulked away. Everyone goes back to their workouts. I just feel like a father should never say that about their own kid. That's an offensive word. It makes me wonder if the OP posting this meant to say that she said he's that. But no, what the F do you want from us? That's literally the dad saying he's R-worded. The petty revenge part, though. My workout buddy and I decided that we really, really needed to work out our abs, so we did some sit-ups in the stretching area. Next to their group, we grunted loudly when we got to the last few reps. They said nothing to us, though, but we still had fun. There was a little edit in here with a number 1. The number 1 says, "While I was writing this, my workout buddy says he thinks she was angry because they were trying to record a video and his noises were ruining the recordings. Didn't think of that. Now it makes sense why she was getting so angry. Michael probably kept ruining her takes. Hee hee. Edit. I tried to upvote everyone who commented. Also, please do not praise me or my workout partner. We didn't do anything, really. That's why this is in Petty Revenge instead of Pro Revenge. We only did some petty noise making to tick her off. I'm too much of a coward to be directly confrontational to strangers. Sorry, not going to record Michael for useless internet points. Don't exploit special needs folks for internet clout. I didn't read all the comments, but apparently somebody asked to send recordings of him working out. No, you're not going to do that. It was a pretty small petty revenge, but a good one. This woman that was in there, filming herself apparently doing workout, was probably some sort of obnoxious influencer. There's been girls who go to work out and they do these fake workouts in front of the mirror and film themselves and post it on Instagram, or they stream it on Twitch. And they're just so gross. Like, there may be people out there for some reason that want to watch you do that, but everybody else who's in the gym doesn't want you filming. They don't want to be stuck on your camera on some internet site somewhere. I wish that every gym had a policy. No video recording of any kind. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a festive day.